My name is Layla and I want to tell you about the most important thing that ever happened to me. I was 21 years old living in a small village called Cana in southern Egypt with my family. Every Thursday I attended Quranic lessons at the Al-Rahman Mosque with my younger sister Maryam. We would sit on the intricate carpets listening to Sheikh Hassan teach us about being righteous Muslim women. I cherished the serene atmosphere inside the mosque. The way the late afternoon sunlight streamed through the ornate windows and created amber patterns on the polished stone floor. After one Thursday Quranic lesson on June 14, 2018, most people had departed to prepare for the evening meal. I was helping arrange the prayer mats in the storage area like I always did. That's when Sheikh Hassan approached me. "Layla, can you assist me with organizing some religious texts in my study?" he asked with his familiar warm smile. I followed him down the corridor past the washing area to a small chamber I'd never entered before. The moment he shut the heavy wooden door behind us, something felt terribly wrong. The smile vanished from his face, and his voice became harsh and menacing. "You're maturing into a beautiful young woman, Layla," he said, moving closer. "Allah has gifted you with remarkable beauty." I retreated until I struck the bookcase. I should go help Maryam prepare to return home," I stammered. But he seized my wrist. "No one will believe you if you speak," he hissed. "I am a sheikh. You are merely a girl from the rural countryside." What happened next shattered everything. He violated me in ways I couldn't comprehend. Ways that made me feel destroyed inside. When I attempted to scream, he silenced my mouth and said it was Allah's trial for me. I stumbled home through the sandy streets in a daze. My black abaya was ripped, dust covering my knees. My sister was waiting by our iron gate, playing with her prayer beads. "Where were you?" "Mama was searching for you," she said, then paused. "Layla, what happened? You look..." "Nothing," I whispered, rushing past her into our small brick house. That night, I lay on my narrow mattress, staring at the ceiling fan that barely stirred the sweltering air. Every time I closed my eyes, I was back in that room. I couldn't eat my mother's koshari for 3 days. She kept asking if I had fallen ill from the heat, but I just shook my head. Finally, I couldn't contain it anymore. While my mother was preparing full medams for breakfast, I stood in the doorway of our cramped kitchen and said, "Mama, something awful happened at the mosque." She glanced up from mashing the fava beans. "What do you mean, Habibi?" The words poured out like water from the Nile during flood season. "Sheikh Hassan. He hurt me. He touched me inappropriately and said things and I couldn't stop him." The wooden spoon dropped from her hand and clattered on the concrete floor. For a moment, I thought she would embrace me and tell me everything would be all right. Instead, she struck me so hard my ears rang. "How dare you lie about a holy man?" she shouted. "You must have done something to tempt him. What were you wearing under your abaya? How were you behaving?" I couldn't believe what I was hearing. "Mama, I didn't do anything wrong. Please, please believe me." But she turned away. "We will never speak of this fitna again. Do you understand me?" When my father Abu Mahmoud came home that evening from his work at the textile mill, I heard my parents whispering frantically in Arabic in their room. Later, he summoned me and looked at me with such disappointment that I wanted to disappear into the cracked tile floor. "You have brought shame to this house," he said quietly. "From now on, you will not go anywhere unaccompanied. You will remain home and learn to be a proper daughter." They confiscated my old Nokia phone and confined me to the room I shared with Maryam for a week. I had nothing to do but think and pray. But when I tried to pray toward Mecca, the words felt hollow. Where was Allah when I needed him? Why didn't he protect me? I started remembering other things. Verses I'd memorized about women obeying men, about wives being like fields for their husbands. Things that had never troubled me before now made my stomach ache. Late at night, I would hear my father praying loudly in the adjacent room. "Ya Rab, forgive my daughter's lies. Make her a good girl again." But I wasn't lying and I wasn't bad. So why was everyone acting like I was the problem? One day, my Aunt Samira came to visit from Luxor. She found me sitting alone in our small courtyard, staring at nothing while the chickens pecked around my feet. "You look like a spirit, ya binti," she said, sitting beside me on the wooden stool. "What's troubling you?" Something about her gentle voice made me want to tell her everything. But I remembered my mother's warning. "I'm fine, Tante," I lied. She studied my face for a long moment. "You know, Layla, sometimes the people we trust most can wound us the deepest, and sometimes the people around us can't handle the truth when we tell it." I looked at her in surprise. How did she know? "If you ever need someone to talk to," she whispered, "I have a friend named Fatima who helps girls like you. Girls who have been hurt and don't know where to turn." She slipped a small piece of paper into my hand with a phone number written on it. It took me 2 weeks to gather the courage to use Miriam's phone when she went to buy bread from the bakery. My hands trembled as I dialed the number. "Allo," a warm voice answered. Is this Fatima?" I whispered. "Yes, Habibi. Who is this?" "My name is Layla. My Aunt Samira said you help girls who have been hurt." There was a pause. "Oh, Omri." "Yes, I do. Are you safe right now? Can you talk?" For the first time in months, someone was asking if I was okay. I started crying right there in the bathroom where I was hiding. "It's okay to cry," Fatima said softly in her Cairo accent. "You're going to be okay. Can you tell me what happened?" I told her everything about Sheikh Hassan, about my family not believing me, about feeling so alone and confused. "Layla, listen to me carefully," she said when I finished. "What happened to you was not your fault. You are not najsa or shameful. You are precious and loved." "But Allah didn't protect me," I sobbed. "Maybe I did something wrong." "Oh, Habibi," she said, "let me tell you about someone who sees your pain and wants to heal your heart. His name is Isa al-Masih, Jesus the Messiah." Over the next few weeks, Fatima would call me when I could sneak away to the rooftop. She told me stories about Isa, how he was compassionate to women, how he healed people who were suffering, how he defended those who couldn't protect themselves. Isa was different from other religious leaders, she explained. When a woman who had been hurt was brought to him, instead of judging her, he protected her and told her she was forgiven. She managed to get me a small New Testament hidden inside a book about ancient Egypt. At night, by the light of my phone, I read about Isa healing people and telling them they were loved. One story particularly affected me about a Samaritan woman at a well who had been rejected by everyone in her town. When Isa met her, he didn't shame her or turn away. Instead, he offered her living water and told her about God's love. "That could be me," I whispered to myself in Arabic. One night during Ramadan 2018, I had the most vivid dream of my life. I was sitting by the Nile at sunset, weeping. The water was muddy and dark and I felt dirty and ashamed. Then someone sat down beside me on the riverbank. I looked up and saw a man with kind eyes and a gentle smile. He was wearing simple white clothes and somehow I felt completely safe with him. "Min inta?" "Who are you?" I asked. "Ana hawa alati yuhibuki." "I am the one who loves you," he said. "I have been waiting for you to find me." He reached down and cupped some of the muddy Nile water in his hands. But when he offered it to me, it was crystal clear. "Ishrab, drink," he said, "and you will never be thirsty again." When I drank the water, I felt clean for the first time since that horrible day at the mosque. All the shame and pain seemed to wash away. "Halinta Yasu? Are you Jesus?" I whispered. He smiled and answered with a radiant smile. "I have seen every tear you've cried. I was with you in that room and I will never leave you." I woke up with tears streaming down my face, but they were good tears. For the first time in months, I felt hope. The next time Fatima called, I told her about the dream. "Layla," she said, her voice full of joy, "Isa is calling you to be his daughter. Do you want to give your life to him?" I thought about everything I'd learned. How Isa loved the broken and outcast. How he offered forgiveness and healing. How he saw women as precious and valuable. Yes," I whispered. "I want to follow Isa." Right there on the phone, Fatima led me in a prayer. I asked Isa to forgive my sins and to be my savior. When I finished praying, I felt like a huge weight had been lifted off my shoulders. But I knew I had to keep the secret. In my family and community, becoming a Christian was seen as the worst kind of betrayal. For months, I pretended to be the same old Layla. I went to the mosque when my family made me, but my heart wasn't there anymore. Instead, I would pray silently to Isa. Fatima gave me the address of a small apartment in the old Coptic quarter of our town where Christians met in secret. Every other Thursday, I would tell my family I was going to visit my cousin Noha, and instead I would take the microbus to this hidden church. The first time I walked up the narrow stone stairs to the 3rd floor, I almost cried. There were about 15 people there, some who looked like me, others who were older, a few families with children. They welcomed me with such warmth and love. Akt Layla, Sister Layla, they said, hugging me. Alin wasalan, welcome. During the service, we sang songs about Isa in whispers so no one outside would hear. When Abuna Mikhail spoke about God's love and forgiveness, I felt like he was speaking directly to my heart. I thought I was being careful, but my little sister Mariam started getting suspicious. Where do you really go on Thursday afternoons? She asked one day in December 2018. I saw you get on the microbus to the Christian area last week. My heart started racing. I went to buy some things from the souk. You're lying, she said. I'm going to tell Baba. I begged her not to. But that evening, I heard her whispering to our father. He called me into the main room with the most serious expression I'd ever seen. Sit down, Layla, he said coldly. He pulled out my hidden Injil and set it on the low table between us. Explain this. I stared at the book, my heart pounding so hard I was sure he could hear it. It's not what you think, I stammered. It's exactly what I think, he said, his voice rising. You have become a Nazraniyah, a Christian. You have abandoned your faith, your family, your people. I couldn't deny it anymore. Baba, I believe in Isa Almasi. The slap came so fast, I didn't see it coming. Then another and another. You are dead to me, he said, his voice shaking with rage. Pack your things and get out of my house. You are no longer my daughter. Within an hour, I was standing outside our iron gate with a small plastic bag of clothes and my mother's old black handbag. My mother wouldn't even look at me. My sister Mariam watched from the flat roof with tears in her eyes. I had nowhere to go except to Fatima in Cairo. I took my savings and bought a ticket on the night train to Ramses Station. When I showed up at her apartment building in Shubra that morning, she took one look at me and pulled me into her arms. Ya Habibi, she said, come in. You're safe now. She gave me a small room in her apartment and told me I could stay as long as I needed. This is your home now, she said. We are your family. Living with Fatima was like being reborn. Every morning, we would read the Injil together and pray. She taught me more about Isa and helped me understand that God had a plan for my life even through all the pain I'd experienced. Layla, she said one day, I believe God wants to use your story to help other girls. I wasn't sure what she meant until a young woman named Dina came to visit. She had the same haunted look in her eyes that I once had. When Fatima asked me to share my story with her, I was nervous. But as I talked about what I'd been through and how Isa had healed my heart, I watched Dina's face change. By the end, she was crying. Ana Fakart ini waida, I thought I was alone, she whispered. I thought God had abandoned me. That day, Dina also gave her life to Isa. Over the next year, I met with more and more girls who had been hurt like me. Some came from Christian families, some from Muslim families, some from traditional Saidi families. But we all had one thing in common. We had been broken and Isa was putting us back together. One girl, Rania, had been hurt by her uncle. Another, Nadia, had been forced into marriage when she was only 13. Each of them found healing and hope in Isa. You have a gift, Layla, Fatima told me. God has given you a heart for the broken. 2 years after I left home, I got word from my Aunt Samira that Sheikh Hassan was very sick and in Cana General Hospital. Part of me felt satisfied. Maybe he was finally getting what he deserved. But every time I prayed, I kept hearing the same thing. Forgive him. I can't, I told us. He destroyed my life. But the voice kept coming back. Forgive him. Finally, Fatima and I took the train back to Upper Egypt. When I walked into his hospital room, I barely recognized the man who had hurt me. He was thin and weak, a shadow of his former self. When he saw me, his eyes filled with fear and shame. "I know why you're here," he whispered in his Saudi accent. "You want to see me suffer." I took a deep breath and felt Isa give me strength. "La," I said quietly. "I came to tell you that I forgive you." He stared at me in shock. "Lay. Why?" "Because Isa forgave me," I said. "And he can forgive you too if you ask him." I left a small Arabic New Testament on his bedside table and walked out. I never saw him again, but I heard later from my aunt that he had been asking questions about Christianity. Walking out of that hospital, I felt completely free for the first time in my life. Now I work with Fatima full-time, helping girls who have been hurt and abandoned. We have a safe house in Minyo where they can stay, and I run support groups 3 times a week. Some people think I'm crazy for forgiving the man who hurt me. But I've learned that forgiveness isn't about letting someone off the hook. It's about setting yourself free. Every week I meet girls who think their lives are over, who believe they're worthless and dirty. I get to tell them the same thing Fatima told me: you are precious. You are loved. You are not defined by what was done to you. Isa took the worst thing that ever happened to me and turned it into my greatest strength. He didn't waste my pain. He used it to help others find healing. I still miss my family sometimes. I hope that one day they will understand that I didn't reject them. I found love that was big enough to include everyone, even those who had hurt me. My name is Layla, and this is my story. It's a story about darkness and light, about pain and healing, about rejection and acceptance. Most of all, it's a story about love. The kind of love that never gives up, never lets go, and never stops believing that broken things can be made beautiful again. If you're reading this and you're hurting, please know that you're not alone. There is someone who sees you, who loves you, and who has a beautiful plan for your life. His name is
Jesus. Please lift her up in your prayers, and remember all who are facing trials. Share your prayer in the comments as a blessing to others. Like this video and share it with someone who needs God's encouragement today.